we're down to 0-2, and we can't afford to to look and say, wow, Kev's not playing. What we're going to do is next man up, because it's a must-win for us. So obviously his health is very important. But in the situation we're in now, we got to stay confident, and whoever coach decides to give the nod to got to be ready to go, and everybody else got to step up.
I have kind of a point forward that I play with, a great player like that comes down, and he can also be the general. And over the last year and a half, I've just learned how to play in between with that, as well as letting him do what he does. And he's getting downhill, and he's spraying out to myself, Swish, and RJ, and Kevin, and we just have to be ready to knock down shots.
He also called himself the general.
The general? What do you have two generals?
Not the buddy mall, man. No.
No, okay.
Okay, so you hear a lot about the term isolation basketball, Brent, here, and do some analytics for us.
Well, I'm looking at the regular season and the fact that here we are in the finals, and that as Cleveland goes along here, 3D, it's becoming more and more stagnation on the offensive end. And it's not to say that all isolation basketball is bad basketball, because the fact of the matter is Cleveland can create a ton of problems if you get the right matchup with LeBron James being defended by the wrong defender, that being not Andre Iguodala, or Kyrie Irving having advantageous matchups after you dictate the pick and roll action and get the switches that you want. But you can't lean too heavy on isolation ball movement, and the backside of your offense certainly can't stand still while these players are trying to create opportunities against their defender.
That's the key phrase, standing still. When you're watching Golden State attack, guys are moving, players are moving, ball is moving. With Cleveland, we watching these highlights. Kyrie, we know you're a great one-on-one player, but Ty Lue said it earlier after game one, is you got to get some player moving on the weak side of the floor, because with all that switching, Golden State switches with purpose. Guys are denying afterwards, so that's why you got to get better player movement around the floor.
Kyrie had 30 possessions in game one, only 17 possessions in game two, and of those 17 possessions, only 5 were isolation plays. So again, it's about picking your poison and picking your spots as to when to isolate to score and when to isolate to make scores. That's where Cleveland has to be better in game three.
And in Kyrie's point, game one, he was very aggressive, got to the free throw line 12 times. Second game, not as good. So that's why he has to figure out that aggression point.
Yeah, 0 in game two.
There you go.
What about the defensive side of the ball? Are you able to stop and slow down the Warriors, or can they generate some offense from that defense? Because remember, all of the turnovers the Warriors had in game two, and unable to really capitalize yet, and you still lose.
Yeah, I think, again, for both of these teams, they'll tell you about how much your offense can help dictate the setting of your defense. And with Cleveland performing as poorly as they have on the offensive end, shooting the basketball, they haven't been able to get back 3D, in my opinion, and be set up for what the Golden State Warriors do with that continuous movement. So maybe some of isolation play, slowing it down, getting into it again, back into those advantageous possessions where you can take advantage of a defender, can help them get the balance or predictable shots to let that defense flow back and be as set as they possibly can be.
What about the communication factor here?
That's the biggest thing. When you're watching Cleveland play defense with all the ball movement we're talking about and the player movement with Golden State, you have to communicate on that side of the floor. Otherwise, it's going to be easy layups, backdoor cuts, or wide open threes. So when you're watching this video right here, Channing Frye has to understand if he's not communicating with Shumpert, knowing that Clay's coming off, you notice there's a slip action coming, poor communication, Channing Frye is standing dead in the water, there you get an easy dunk. Anytime Iguodala has the ball, you notice some moving action going there, disconnect with Richard Jefferson right there. You see J.R. Smith talking, no help on the nail from Shumpert, backside actions, fronting, no. Easy basket for the Barbosa there, cutting back door. Now you see J.R. Smith and Jefferson talking about it. Once again, great spacing by Golden State. Guys are hugged up, but LeBron James, right here once again with Shumpert, is not communicating. It looked like there's a screen coming, but not really a good screen. Richard Jefferson, decent position, but once again, not communicating. LeBron James falling asleep. You get an easy layup, poor communication. If that doesn't change in game three, we might have the same result.
It does no good to talk after the fact. It's
Exactly.
sort of like, hey, 3D, I told you to make a left back there.
Right.
It's sort of too late,
Great
and
point.
that's something where Cleveland has to improve upon for game three.
So which streak will come to an end or continue? LeBron has lost 7 straight to the Warriors, the longest of any opponent he's ever faced, or the Cavs being 7-0 in this building? That is the question.
Ooh, I can't wait till tomorrow night.